research on this before. Stargazing. It can happen with any snake you own. For those of you that don't know what stargazing is, a snake, like say a boa here, she'll basically kick her head up straight in the air and just look like she's stargazing, like she's looking up at the sky. But there's some other symptoms too. Tremors, seizures, disorientation, hard time moving, and there's a couple other little things, but those are the main signs to look out for. Obviously, you know what causes stargazing in snakes. Head trauma will do that. Like if a rock falls on them, or you drop them from a substantial height and they smack their head. And disease like IBD, which is a virus in snakes. Also other viruses can cause it. Is there a cure for stargazing? Well, unfortunately, there's not. You can help them with like antibiotics and things like that. With certain, like if it's caused by like a bacteria or something like that, you know, an antibiotic will help them. It won't completely cure them, but it'll help them get to where they live a more comfortable life. But unfortunately, it's not. You know, another reason why a lot of people get stargazing, and IBD is not. You know, a lot of people hear that, especially in the boa world. Snakes dying from IBD. It's not as widespread as once believed. It's actually pretty hard to transfer, but if you do have a snake in your collection, obviously the only way to know for sure is through blood tests. And that's become a more your local vet won't do it, but they're trying to make it to where it's a little bit easier, you know, so that way your local vets can test for IBD. Also, but the main reason for stargazing is honestly toxin. And that comes from something in the household you sprayed, like Lysol or something like that. Say you sprayed a toxoptis and it got into your snake's drinking water or into the enclosure or on your hand, and you didn't wash your hands properly, and then you held your snake. That can cause stargazing. Also, if you don't think it's from, say you're like, no, I use F10 cleaning products and I use it the way it's directed, and my snake still end up getting it, and you know it don't have IBD, you know you've kept it pre-quarantine, you got it from a reputable breeder, it shows no other signs of IBD, you know, then you got to start looking at your enclosure. Did something fall on your snake, or did your snake fall from a height and hit something that was really hard, which can cause the, you know, neurological damage, this, you know, which would cause the stargazing. So those are just things to look at of root cause, you know, other than just IBD. Don't just jump to the conclusion thinking that your snake's got IBD. There are a couple of people that say that, well, if you hold your snake, you can help with stargazing, and I've looked that up, and you know, if somebody brought that up, and the truth is, no. If it's actually stargazing, then holding them in a certain way and doing things like that is not going to fix the problem. So unfortunately, there's nothing you can do. But just don't jump to it. There are x-rays you can do. There are blood tests you can do to test, you know, for different things and see what's really going on with your snake. So, unfortunately, there's really not much you can do for your snake that is stargazing, if it is true stargazing. So hopefully that answers your question and some of your other questions. If you have any other questions, you can always ask me. And I will do the best research and contact some of the people that I know to try and answer that. Another subject I want to talk on real quick. I got to it today. I saw this. I'm not going to name the person, but here's a picture of their snake eating, okay? They posted this on a Facebook. Then that. Now, the problem here is, A, it's in an aquarium. B, you can see it's got nose rub on its nose from being in too small an enclosure for that size of your snake. And I can't stress that enough. I mean, come on. It is not that hard to get the proper enclosures for your snake, which will help. she's going up my mouth. But will help, keep them from rubbing. Now, don't get me wrong. If you got a male snake and they start smelling the female during breeding season, they're going to be rubbing and pushing to get their way out, and that can cause some nose rubbing. But most nose rubbing like that, especially in females, is from an enclosure that is way too small for that snake. And not only that, but when you keep a glass tank, it's so hard to keep the heat in there accurately, the humidity on there. I do not recommend tanks at all for boa constrictors or carpet pythons, or even ball pythons. Glass tanks are, great for, frogs and tarantulas and garter snakes and things like that. Those types of setups are excellent for them, or even a chameleon if you got the tall XL ones. But honestly, when you have a boa, there's no excuse to keep them in a tank. It's unexcusable. And somebody asked the question, well, why don't you take that snake to the vet? Because he said it was choking, which I will get into more here in a minute. But he says, well, I can't take the vet because I don't have enough gas in my car. Man, I hate that. I understand, we're in tough economic times and money's hard. Believe me, I do. I feel that. But, if you're going to own a snake, it's like owning a child. If you can't afford to take your kid to the doctor or get it health care, then you have no business having a child. Same thing goes for pets. If you can't afford taking them to the vet, then you shouldn't own it. Because things arise, things pop up that are out of your control. I don't care how experienced you are. Someone like me, I've been keeping snakes for almost 23, 24 years now. I don't know the end all to be all. There's things that pop up with me that I'm like, ugh. And you know what? I take it to the vet, and I don't like it when people say, well, my vet, well, yeah, but they know they can help you subscribe the right medicine and things like that. Now, his question was, he said his snake is choking. Now, he's feeding it, he claims, a small rat, and she'd been swallowing it for 45 minutes, and she's choking it, and it showed her going upside down, which really, if you notice, when she was going upside down, she was trying to stretch out. And as you can see in that glass tank, she couldn't really stretch out. She was having a hard time getting that small rat down, not because it was too big, but because she had no room to maneuver. When a snake swallows, they will stretch their head out like this and help push it down. Their ribs will contract. You'll see them contract their body, and then the ribs and then they'll push it down, and that helps them swallow. She had no room to do that. Now and they also have inside their mouth here, which I'm not gonna open her mouth. They have it too, but the windpipe is called what's it called, Priest? Egg. Sorry, I'm trying to ask my son. I've been trying to teach him this word all day. Okay, he's having trouble with it. But here, let me go to my iPad. And here's a great thing about an iPad. Okay, say you're having trouble with a word or you can't pronounce it. You can type it in, and they have a little voice thing right here. And see?
Epiglottis.
Epiglottis. And that's, and that's helpful, especially with like scientific terms and things like that. So if you're having trouble pronouncing a word or something like that, just do that and that'll help you. But it's that little tube that comes out and allows them to breathe. And with that small thing, she wasn't choking. Now, can a snake choke? Yes. Sometimes water, if they are feeding a wet rat and water gets down the epiglottis or the windpipe, they can choke on that. So it's rare, doesn't happen often. So that's something to to be aware of. But that snake wasn't choking. That snake did not have enough room. And so he said he'd been trying to swallow for 45 minutes. Well, snakes sometimes will take a long time to swallow a meal, especially if you take pictures or videos of them while they're doing it. Now, 99 times you're going to take a video or a picture of your snake feeding, which I don't understand why you would. I think that's just, I don't agree with it. I mean, there's no point in it. But hey, some people like that and will do it. Whatever. Well, you probably frightened your snake that one time. It just decided it didn't want to be watched. So now it's gonna freeze because it's in a vulnerable spot. Now there's a couple things that are gonna happen. It's either gonna try to regurgitate that meal up, spit it out of its mouth, or in some cases just freeze. Like, I don't know what to do. I don't feel any danger, but yet at the same time, its personal space is being invaded. So he ended up saying, please help, and he ended up ripping the snake, ripping the rat out of the snake's mouth, which can do so much damage to the inside of the snake, the teeth, everything, and just not a smart move. And it's not that this person, he just wasn't educated enough about snakes, and I can't tell you guys that enough. When you get a snake, I don't care if it's a boa or a garter snake or a king snake or a sand boa or whatever it is, do your due diligence and really research what you're getting into. And I don't mean just research about the snake, like as far as like how big they get, what type of morph there is, who are the big breeders out there, where can I get it the cheapest, or what's the most expensive of that species. No, that's not those are good things to research, but that's not the only thing to research. You got to research everything you can about that species, from how the lungs work. Snakes generally have two lungs, one really big one smaller one, and sometimes the smaller one's barely there. You got to study how their vision works. Like a lot of people think, what people don't realize is snakes pick up vibrations. They hear through vibrations. So most people don't take those type of things to look up their snake, and also when it comes to where's that snake from, what type of habitat, and I could go on and on, but you see my point. Just please do your extra research, do your due diligence, so that way you don't make those mistakes, that a lot of us made when we first got into it. So anyway, this is Boxing Boa and Vanity. Hopefully you guys are having a good day, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.